What's up, guys? It's Redbird here. And now, if you're a New World fan, we've had a massive week in news. So today we're going to sit down and break down what we know about the factions of the island of Eternum. As always, it's good to have you guys here with me today. We're going to break down some of the recent faction news the Dev Diary 2 covered. Basically, there are going to be multiple factions of NPC characters in the game, as well as the main antagonist, which is the Corrupted. It's going to be interesting to see how these three factions outside of the Corrupted are going to interact with players, and I have kind of a theory of something that I think might be pretty cool if they can pull it off. But first, let's talk about what we know. Some important things to know before we get started about Eternum that were revealed in the Dev Diary is that nothing can die in Eternum, mainly because of a resource called Azoth, which is the key to eternal life. It's kind of like the concept of the Fountain of Youth, where explorers like Ponce de Leon were looking for this water that you could bathe in and that you could restore your youth and possibly live forever. So it's a really cool concept, and it really lends itself to the art style and the time frame in which New World was placed. Again, this allows people, or the people and the factions of the setting of Eternum, to live forever. This fact creates the setting for the four factions and kind of their motives, or what they're trying to do, or maybe why they even exist in the first place. So here are the four NPC factions in Eternum. The first faction that we have are the Lost. These are undead skeleton zombie-like NPCs that originated mainly from all the dead bodies that washed up on the shores of Eternum, being from explorers that didn't make the journey to Eternum, or possibly they died to the sea, or maybe other things that we're unaware of before they got to the island. And then as their bodies kind of wash up on the banks or the shores, they become reanimated, which is an awesome concept. The developers state that these are beings that have eternal life but no soul. This kind of lends itself to the zombie undead type of theme that they have going on with the Lost. Now, they nailed the first concept, obviously, of enemies. The Lost is a really cool idea of these dead bodies washing up onto the shore, this magical item. And because of the magic properties of this island, they're being reanimated into zombies and undead. It's a really cool idea. Here is what I want to throw in, and this is my 2 cents. Is it possible for the armor and the weapon, the things that we're getting from loot from these, to possess some type of magical characteristics that give us new skills and abilities that we can put on our bars that we can use in combat? And specifically for the Lost, they kind of tend to, or they seem to lend themselves towards like necromancy, warlock, rogue type gameplay. And what if you loot a staff and it allows you to raise a lost pet to do your bidding, or what if you get a dagger and that dagger creates some type of lifesteal ability, or you get a shield and that has like a when you block you leech mana or stamina from something. All of these concepts within the Lost umbrella seem very plausible because of the the design, and I think this seems to be one very plausible way to get other abilities and skills, as if they're kind of tied to one of these enemy factions that we either, maybe we can ally with in some way, learn from in some way, or we can loot their armor or their, weapons or spell books and kind of learn from them in that way as well. So the next faction we're going to talk about is again, a whole different design and direction, and has a certain theme to it, and that is the Angry Earth. The next faction of NPCs in New World is the Angry Earth. This faction is a defense mechanism of nature on Eternum. The NPCs in this faction is nature imitating beasts, humanoids, and even monstrosities that the island has made to fight back against the other factions and the players. They see anything foreign to the island as an enemy or a threat to its existence, and even an infection, as the devs describe. Now again, this faction kind of lends itself towards like a druid, shaman, ranger, even elementalist or mage type of gameplay because of the theme that they've kind of brought forward with it. And again, you can just see how maybe one of those staffs that we saw in the footage had like an icy tint to it, and if you have that equipped, then you have the ability to create a blizzard or to shoot an ice bolt or something like that. Or maybe the bow has a poison arrow. I mean, they can really do a lot with this and still keep the combat very simple while creating a reason to seek each faction out for its loot table or drops to kind of gain the certain abilities that you want to build your character around. Now, the next faction we're going to talk about, the theme is a little less obvious, but I think equally as interesting. The next faction we're going to talk about is the Ancients. This is an ancient faction, pun intended, made up of an early group of beings that harness the power of Azoth. The Ancients is a very advanced civilization that was centered around technology and technologic advancements. Something has happened to the Ancients that we will learn about as we explore Eternum, but at this point it's unclear what their origins are. Now, we could sit around and speculate all day on what we think the lore of the Ancients is going to be about, but really, if I had to guess, I think it's going to be some type of like Paladin, Priest, Dragoon, Templars type of gameplay where you have healing abilities, maybe ancient technologies, maybe even like an engineer type play style that kind of will lend itself to aid us in, like, again, protection, healing, buffing, supporting, that type of thing. Of course, all of these are kind of fabrications by me at this point, but I do think it would be cool for them to find unique ways to get spells and abilities in the player's hands that's kind of tied to these factions and the lore of the different factions on the island. So speaking of factions, this is the last one we're going to talk about today, and that is the Corrupted. Now, the Corrupted have been mentioned before in previous dev vlogs. This is kind of the main antagonist in the game, or the faction that is set against the players in a PvE setting. Kind of like how the Angry Earth is the island or the nature's way to fight back against the players. This is the Azoth's way, or the magical force behind the island's powers way of kind of fighting back against the players and making sure they don't get too powerful. Now, as the Corrupted notice that the player characters or the player territories are kind of getting too powerful or building their territories too large, they will come in and try to destroy them with a series of attacks or raids. Now, the Corrupted seem to have a unique set of abilities that allows them to raid player territories or civilizations. Now, this is going to be interesting to see how they pull this off. I'm hoping it's by sheer force of numbers. I can't wait to see them kind of overwhelm civilizations. Maybe there's like 50 or 60 people that live in a territory, and then there's thousands of Corrupted that attack it. Another thing is that they can set up portals to bring in more Corrupted into the area. They can set up roadblocks. A lot of different things are in these videos that kind of make him very unique. You saw that the entire environment of a particular territory was changing. The red air, the foggy mist of blood. It looks super dope. I can't wait to experience the raids that are set forth in the PvE setting. All right, well, that about does it for today's video. What do you guys think? Do you think they're going to tie skills and abilities to these particular factions' armor and weapon so that we as players can kind of seek them out and gain new abilities and new ways to kind of perform in combat? Do you think that the Corrupted are going to be this constant force that we're constantly having to push back and fight against, or they'll overwhelm an entire server? All of these things are again, speculation, but extremely fun. I'm glad you guys joined me for this. Don't forget to like and comment on the video. Subscribe to the channel. Should be right here. And then this right up here should be a new world video that you might enjoy as well. So again, thank you guys so much for watching the channel, and we'll see you next time.